The year is 2020, and I still haven't made a video about the Anime Man, everyone's favorite person to defend. I mean, unless you're a smart person. So today we're going to be talking about a video that he did a couple of months ago, where he talks about Redo of a Healer, a manga series that was adapted from a light novel. But now here we are, in the midst of maybe it possibly coming out. It got pushed back due to the pandemic. Can't say the name, otherwise they'll demonetize me quick. But we all know what's going to happen. It was going to be made as an anime. It still is. It just got delayed a couple of months. So the Anime Man has an issue with this, as he does most things that involve him not getting money. I mean, talking about anime the way he wants to.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man.
Okay, so before we start, first of all, that intro, every single time, I swear to God, every single time. But this is the thing that I want you guys to do. And I know that we've done drinking game in the past, but they haven't really been official. So what I want you guys to do is get any of your favorite drinks and take a shot every time he uses the word edgy.
And welcome back to another episode of Fuck Japan, the occasional show where I take some of the weirdest, strangest, most WTF things about anime, manga, otaku culture, or just Japan in general. You know how this shit works.
Yeah, whatever you say, guy, whatever you say. I know that it's, I don't know, it's just me, but maybe we could, do something else, but, like, fine, whatever. We're gonna make a series about Japan and all of its weird things, because we wouldn't be a weeb channel without it, I suppose.
Now listen, let me just clear up one big thing that's going to be a huge point in today's video. I love dark fantasy stories.
So I don't know if you guys have noticed this trend. I'm just going to bring it up to you and you can go and look for yourself. But AniTubers, the way that they define good writing and the way that they want to make their point known is by saying that they love X, but they also hate X. So in this case, the Anime Man loves dark fantasy stories, but he also hates them sometimes. It depends on how he finds the quality of them to be. And you're going to be scratching your head quite often. I've seen this video just one good time all the way through, and it was enough to know that I needed to make this video to please the masses. And by please the masses, I mean get more people angry at me.
You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Berserk, Claymore, Shinsekai Yori, fuck it, throw in a little bit of Blood Plus in there for shits and giggles. And there you have a pretty good collection of some raw and gritty yet super encapsulating stories of swords, magic, and everything else edgy.
Alright, you heard the man, this is shot number 1.
But here's one thing about dark fantasy that I particularly enjoy. It's that it's a refined art.
That doesn't make any sense, Joey. To say something is refined means that it's gone through a process to remove all of its impurities. That means that dark fantasy stories, no matter what they are 100% perfect. That means that there is nothing in them that makes them awful. And I'm pretty sure people could point out something about a dark fantasy story that you personally enjoy that has not been refined whatsoever. But again, tell me how this is a refined art so we can move on with the rest of this video and get to the MacGuffin.
So many people have attempted to write some gripping and edgy dark fantasy stories, especially in the manga and anime world, and yet there are so many that have come out quite unsuccessfully.
Okay, two things. First, you gotta take a shot because he said edgy again. And two, that could be said about literally anything. Like, there's people that are making music and they don't succeed. There's some people that make YouTube channels and they just don't succeed. That is literally everything. It's not specific to this one thing, and I know you're not saying that because people will say, well, it's just his opinion. Well, that's great. That's fine and all, but it's refined, remember? It's something that doesn't have any impurities in it. But there is everything. Everything has an impurity of some kind.
And that's because I feel that the genre of dark fantasy especially is a serious hit or a miss. It's very easy to fuck up, make super generic, or just way too edgy for the sake of edgy.
Oh boy, that's 3 shots. I don't know if you guys are going to make it all the way to the end here. It's not hit or miss. Everything is hit or miss. Why are you doing the meme and the jump cuts? Do we need the keys dangled in front of our face because we can't keep up with the the special things that you're saying?
And this one manga/light novel series that my good friend Dai Tomodachi opened the doors up to me for, and just so happens to be the creme de la creme of today's The Fuck Japan episode, just so happens to be all of the above.
Okay, so for the sake of advancing this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and ask, what is all of the above? What are the things that make it edgy for the sake of being edgy? Which is a criticism I've heard before from Goblin Slayer fans, and I don't know why we keep having to go back to this, but we have that, and also that it's super generic and all of these other things that are just literally buzzwords. What's this? What is it? Just tell me. I think everybody could have figured it out unless they were like 5 years old.
Now, some of you might be looking at the title of today's video and thinking to yourself, wow, Joey, nice clickbait as usual, dipshit.
Well, at least he's self-aware, and I can give him points for that.
But after you finish watching this video, if you do decide to stick around, I think you'll come to realize that this is really the only way that I can describe this piece that we'll be talking about.
Well, I mean, if you want to be super reductionist about everything, then sure, it could be the words that you use.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, my purest of ladies and my most degenerate of gentlemen, today we'll be looking into and deeply analyzing this particular manga and light novel series, which I believe to be some of the most fucked up, messed up, and most edgy series to come out in the 21st century.
Oh, okay, so I'm just gonna have to just roll off all of these because there's multiple points that need to be made. Firstly, take another shot, and secondly, why do we have to keep saying the word edgy? Why is edgy the worst thing that you could call something? Why does it have to be, oh, well, it's edgy, and that means it's bad? Why is that a negative connotation? I don't get it. Maybe that's just how reductionist we need to be for this video, because anything that actually gives it a valid criticism, we can't really do, can we, big boy Joey? But even then, third thing is this manga, this light novel, this is what you call edgy, and it's the worst thing that you've ever had to experience in the 21st century. I'm sorry, but you're a wet behind the ears little bitch boy if you think that is the worst and most edgy thing that you've seen in the 21st century. I assure you, there's people on the internet that have experienced far worse than you. And I will be the first to say that I've seen a lot worse than Redo of a Healer.
And that series is simply titled Redo of a Healer. The story is set in a world of heroes and demons, as our main protagonist, Kiaru, is summoned by the heroes of time to partake in their party to destroy the evil demon lord and reclaim the land once and for all.
Okay, so we've established that there is a conflict and that there are people in the world that, take a weird side of good and evil. So we've established that, so okay, it's going good so far. What other things are in it?
After analyzing Kiaru's powers, the heroes discover that he falls under the Healer class, a backup class centered around healing the wounds of its party members. But the world isn't all daisies and rainbows for Kiaru, as he is tortured, beat up, and manipulated to do everything that his party members force him to do.
Okay, so I want everybody, and this includes you too, Anime Man fans, just listen to what he said just a second ago. I'm not going to replay it again, but I want you to go back and listen to the things that he just said, because this is going to make a huge impact on the entire video and how we're going to move forward, if you will. This main character has been beaten, tortured, and he's been the R word. I don't know if it's safe to say it or not, but he's been that too. Sexually abused for 4 years since he first got to this world. So he has undergone trauma from a bunch of different things. And of course it doesn't make him right in the head. Keep that in mind as we go through this video.
If they need healing, they'll whip, beat, and fuck it out of him. Literally.
Now, and this is, I just want to point this out, I've seen this video already, but this is in the first chapter. And so we've established why he wants revenge. We've established what they've done to him to make him want revenge. But he's going to quickly discard that later. Just wait, we'll get to it.
However, one day, Kiaru realizes that his healing powers may not just be used to tend to wounds, but rather, with some tweaking, could possibly be the strongest class of them all, and that he hasn't been able to use them to the fullest extent due to his quote-unquote loyal party members depriving him of everything in his life.
Okay, so now we have it set up to where he knows, after the poison or the whatever wears off, we've now figured out, okay, now he has cognitive thought, and now he can go out and do what he needs to do. And this is what sets up the events that would essentially propel the rest of the story for him to time travel. Sorry, there's time travel in this.
Thus, using his now awoken true healing powers, Kiaru decides to heal the world, causing time to turn back a whole 4 years before he joined the party so that he can redo everything again. But this time, Kiaru has a taste for revenge, and now it's his turn to seek out his past party members and pay back for everything that they did to him in his past life.
So for a lot of you film gurus or someone that consumes a lot of media, then you'll know that there is a way that a story can consist of about 5 different parts. So this one being the exposition part, where it's, you know, we can just call it the introduction, where he goes into this and you get set up with all of the things that you need to know in order to move forward. And then the next part after that would be the rising action, or the rise. And that would be the part where the character, the main character, builds up and, you know, becomes more powerful, becomes smarter, technically a character development, if you will. And then, of course, later on we get to the climax and the falling action, the return or the fail, and then we get to the catastrophe or the resolution or whatever it is. And so far, we've only reached the first step of this story, but the anime man, of course, is special and doesn't realize that.
Now, as you can see, that synopsis made no goddamn sense.
It did. It really did. I mean, we could go back through it again if you really want. I mean, it's really simple. A guy shows up, he gets isekai'd to this world where he is forced, and by forced, I mean beaten, tortured, and sexually assaulted by male and female party members to do their bidding. He then is, you know, awakened because the spell, the potion, or whatever wore off that forces him to do everything that they say. He has thought that he can now do anything at free will. He is smart enough to figure this out, takes this item, goes back in time 4 years to the start of this to get revenge on them. And so he knows everything that they are weak and things that they are strong against and everything in between. And so now he's going to essentially destroy them because he's not right in the head. Let me remind you, 4 years all of this took place. And now he's going to get revenge on them before it even starts because he knows that they're awful people. So how does that not make sense to you again? I figured that we could just go over that a little bit more if you really want.
And listen, my boys, that's not just me being shit at writing synopsis for stories, okay? Like, it's just genuinely a illogical and completely absurd story.
Illogical in a fantasy story? That doesn't make any sense.
First of all, these healing powers that our main protagonist Kiara supposedly has, it's not healing powers at all. You've all been lied to.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, but what the fuck are you talking about?
Because not only can this boy heal wounds, like in any RPG-like game setting, but he can also heal abilities from other people and make it his own. He can heal physical properties into other physical properties through the use of alchemy. He can heal demons and evil spirits into its purest form, therefore nullifying every single attack that they come up with. And he can heal the world, causing time to reverse back to however long he desires whilst still maintaining his memories.
Literally all of those things that you just described are healing. They're not healing in the sense that, oh, it restored HP or that it restored health, because you already said that it does those things. But when he heals the earth, going backwards does heal the earth, essentially. I mean, if you really want to put it into bare bones terms, I mean, it does heal the earth. That means, you know, in current modern day, if you want to, we could go back and the earth would be in probably better shape than it is now because of all of the pollution, the smog, all that stuff. He can heal demons to their purest form. That's healing. Am I not understanding any of this? Or, I mean, you are the one that likes dark fantasy, Joey. I'm not understanding your logic. Help me understand. Because so far it sounds like you're just talking a bunch of bullshit that no one can keep up with. And anybody that tries to at least get a little bit closer to what you say, maybe their head just explodes or something. I don't fucking know.
Wait, hold on a second. That sounds fucking retarded, doesn't it?
Yeah, to someone like you, the wannabe. Sorry, it's not needed for the video. I'm not doing it. But no, it's not retarded. You're retarded. That's fucking stupid. You know what? At this point, I'm just gonna let the R words fly. No one gives a shit. No, that's retarded, Joey. You're retarded. It makes perfect sense.
Can you imagine if you were playing like Final Fantasy and the white mage just shows up, starts fucking shooting fireballs, starts turning all of these like toxic things into healing properties, and then just stands back, looks back at you and is like, bro, I'm just a healer. Like, bitch. This has to be some of the most ridiculous plot convenience that I've ever seen in any manga or light novel. This is beyond plot convenience at this point. illogical. There's zero logic to any of this.
Joey, Final Fantasy XIV is a game. If that were to happen, the game would be structurally unsound. No one would play the game. In fact, now it's one of the top MMOs to play over, like, even, I don't know. You could just take a pick. It doesn't matter, because people play WoW, and I don't know how good that's doing nowadays, because, you know, China. But it's a game, and it has it set up in just a way. Now, if you're trying to talk about how a redo of a healer is doing this awful, then that makes no sense, because it's established in the series that healers do have all of these powers. That's why, essentially, he gets enslaved, because he has healing powers. So as long as they can drug him and control him to do virtually anything that they want him to do, then that makes his powers weakened. And because he breaks free, they're strong now. Because he's a healer. He can do all of these things. Have you ever watched anything? Have you watched actually anything? I don't think that you know what dark fantasy is. And it can be, I don't know, it could just, let's just say he didn't have those powers. Then that would make a lot of sense. Oh, I'm just a healer. All I can do is heal people. Then you would get something like the Rising of the Shield Hero, where all he does is have defense, but he has to level up. And don't worry, I'm going to bring this point up later. Just trust me, it's going to make sense.
And mind you, this is a fantasy story at its core, so suffice it to say that logic doesn't really play an important role in these kinds of stories, considering that they're usually set in unrealistic settings.
So why does it matter that it's illogical, Joey? Why does it matter? I mean, it does make sense in the world that it's a fantasy. And so because it doesn't make sense to you, doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense in the story.
And yet this shit just sticks out like dog's balls, because they just lay all of this information on you like a dumpster truck and then try and drive away before you realize that they've just left all this trash here.
Alright, hold up. Why are you looking at dog's balls? I don't think that there's a, what's the word I'm looking for? A normal person that looks at dog's balls. I mean, unless you're into bestiality, I mean, that's completely you. I'm not here to judge, but if you do turn out to be one of those zoophiles, then I don't know. That would just, I know this doesn't really do anything for the video, but he just brought up dog's balls, and that's kind of strange. It's kind of cringe.
Oh, and by the way, did I mention that all of what I just said happens in the first chapter? This is going to be a long video.
You're goddamn right, it's about to be a long one. So I don't know if you guys are like watching me or if you're listening to me in traffic, as I have found out that a lot of Californians do. Strap in, because this is going to be a long boy. And not in that weird way. Just, it's going to be a long video.
So after he heals the world and basically pulls a ReZero on us and goes back to the first village that he started in, he begins to create these debuffs and abilities before the party members come and pick him up.
Yeah, that's pretty smart logic. I would not see an issue with that. If he knows what they're weak against and what they're strong against, why wouldn't he just take preventative measures? And also, why are we throwing ReZero in here? So the guy dies and goes back a little bit in time. Not that he has like the same kind of, you know, healing. I don't know why you keep saying it that way, but even though it's whatever, it's fine. We'll just get past it. We'll get past it. Let's just keep going.
Like the ability to resist poison so he doesn't get addicted to whatever drugs they gave him in his previous life. And gaining an all-seeing eye that allows him to see the enemy's stats and buffs that he randomly picks up from a fairy in the middle of the forest, because there wasn't enough plot convenience already, apparently.
That's not plot convenience. God, you're making me so angry. It's not plot convenience. I don't think you're not using the word properly. You're not using it properly. It's not plot convenience. Because something gives him an ability doesn't mean it's plot convenience. By that fucking stretch, everything in Doom Eternal is a plot convenience.
Now, in my eyes, that's all fine and dandy, because this isn't the first time that we've seen a power fantasy set in an RPG-like setting where the main protagonist is like this ridiculously OP character that can do anything and doesn't know how to fail. But here's where things start to get unnecessary, and I don't think I'll be able to show any of this, because later, after getting picked up by the heroes, who happens to be part of the royal house of the kingdom that reigns over the world, one of the maids of the royal house comes to his room and suddenly starts having unsolicited intercourse with him, because apparently the setting in this particular world is that in order for characters to level up, they need to have intercourse with someone who is classified as a hero, aka the main protagonist, and use their semen to convert that mana into experience to level up. What? This sounds like the plot to a hentai. Wow, I was just thinking the same thing, fellow viewer.
Oh man, he's so cool. He mentioned the hentai. It's great. So there's a couple of things that are wrong with this because, yes, while it is true that they need to have sex in order to level up, there are level caps. So if you watched or read any part of this, then you would know that any of the bodily fluids in the semen of a hero needs to be injected by non-heroes in order to break the level caps and get stronger. And since the sex is placed at a high value so that the team can grow, or else they will eventually just plateau once you hit your level cap, you can't get any stronger. So every time they have sex, it's consensual, as they need to do this in order to get stronger. Now, on page 8 of the chapter that you're talking about, the main character says, "I won't force you to have sex with me if you don't want to, but it'll reduce the chance of you getting stronger by breaking your level cap." Now, you're someone that has read this, right? Because you would know that little bit of information that would help strengthen this argument, but instead you wanted to sound like a jackass instead. I don't get it.
It also doesn't help that the original light novel illustrations are done by Shio Konbu, who happens to be a seasoned veteran in the doujinshi and hentai world and makes some pretty fantastically cultured anime pictures, if you get my drift. But why am I dedicating an entire What the Fuck Japan episode to this RPG-esque dark fantasy show that has a shit protagonist and an even shittier story? Because wouldn't you know it, this shit show of a fantasy story is getting an anime adaptation next year. That's right, you heard me. Not a hentai, an anime. A television anime. I just want to ask one simple question. How the fuck?
For people that are in the anime industry, sorry, you're not actually in the anime industry. You're what we consider a leech. Someone that uses anime or, something like that, the anime community, to get your way, to, persuade others into letting you make things for them. That's just what you guys do. So let me go ahead and answer you very simply how this happened. It's called supply and demand, the thing that you guys always claim. So people went out, they bought product, enough of the product, the visual novel, and they also bought, or not the visual novel, the light novel, excuse me. They bought the light novel, and then they bought the manga, and they said, this is pretty cool. And then the anime production people at the top, they said, hey, this is doing some pretty good numbers. This is not how I'm saying it. This is how they make it sound. But they say, wow, this is doing really good. What if we made an anime adaptation of this? And then they said, sell it. That's about how it goes. You of all people know that. That's why things like Pop Team Epic, the show that you're in, got adapted. It's because it was really popular. And then they said, let's make a show out of that. And sometimes people will throw money at something just every now and again. And that's good. We need to take chances in the anime industry if you're, wanting to make something new. That's why indie developers are pushing the way forward for a lot of the games industry. AAA titles are becoming increasingly difficult to make, but also not really because they keep throwing microtransactions in them. So that's the long and short. If you really want the honest answer, that's how it happened, Joey.
Not just in terms of how this got selected over the literal hundreds of manga and light novel series that are still waiting in line for their anime adaptation, but how the fuck are they going to animate any of this for TV? I don't think the anime industry boardroom people realize just how fucked up of a show this is. Like, this isn't some, One Piece-esque shonen we're dealing with here.
Food for thought, Joey. Not everything is One Piece. I know it's crazy. Not everything is a shonen series that has to, follow this exact way of life. Now, I don't know about the hundreds of shows that are waiting to be adapted into anime. I mean, that's debatable. But maybe they just don't see any value in it. Maybe the creator just doesn't want it in an anime series. Who really knows? But, I mean, that's just, what are you guys complaining about? People consume product and now they want more product. This is... I'm actually just really exhausted. I don't know if we're going to make it through this video. We're already 24 and a half minutes in.
If there was one thing I could pinpoint as to why an anime adaptation for this is just absolutely absurd, it boils down really to the main character's character. It's just a little insane. And by a little insane, I mean clinically insane.
Joey, that's because he's been beaten, sexually assaulted, and tortured for 4 years. That his character is that he is battered and he's out for revenge. You don't have to have, like, I don't know, the smartest man in the entire universe. Like, it's not that. It's really not. Oh my god. You know what, guys? I'm sorry. I'm gonna take a drink.
Because the way that this author created this revenge-crazed protagonist is synonymous to an SAO fanfic written by a 15-year-old who only grew up watching a Serbian film and I Spit on Your Grave.
Back when Goblin Slayer was a thing, a lot of the constituents in your field, known as anti-tubers, decided to go out of their way to say that Goblin Slayer was probably the worst thing that they had ever seen. It was like the absolute worst. And Mother's Basement went off on Twitter doing the same thing that you were doing, saying that it feels like it was written by a 14-year-old, and he didn't think that there would be another show to out-edge Magical Girl Site. And people asked him legitimately if it was bad or if it was just, his taste. And he said that it was pretty much it was just trash to him. He didn't care. It doesn't matter. And that's fine to have opinions. But it's when you're starting to make your opinions sound like they're trying to be more than that. And we're going to find out here in a little bit, because the Anime Man is going to go over the parts of the story that he didn't necessarily like, and he'll also bring up certain points in the story that he also didn't like, and we're going to see if he's telling the truth. So just hang in there with me. I know it's going to be a little bit, but I promise the payoff is going to be huge.
Like, this show is just so goddamn edgy. You could slice your finger at how sharp the edge is. Ow! My finger! Ow!
This is your reminder that you need to take another shot.
Let me give you a quick example of what I'm talking about. In chapter 6 of the manga, after tricking and capturing her previous party leader, which happens to be the princess to the ruling kingdom, our main protagonist starts to question and torture his captive.
Yes, he's getting revenge on the people that tortured him, so okay, nothing out of the ordinary here.
And I'm not going to show any of this next scene because I don't want to get demonetized or caught by copper, so I'm going to be giving you a description whilst my lovely editor Thomas is going to do his best with his art skills.
I'm sorry, this is going to be a little bit nitpicky, but, you could have just, did it yourself. I'm just saying, like, you could have, the way that you're going to see this next part, guys, the next part that you're going to see, he could have just did it himself. That's just my nitpick. You can dock points away from me for that one, but that's what I'm gonna do.
By question and torture in this case, I mean he breaks each one of the fingers on her hands one by one, then heals her hands to do it all over again, and then after interrogating her with a hot iron rod that he creates through his healing alchemy.
Well, this is only partially correct, Joey, because, if you actually read this, then I doubt that you would have any of these issues. But in this exact moment, he didn't create a hot rod, he just heated it up using alchemy. So the hot rod always existed, and you can see it in the picture above. I don't know why you would misrepresent that. It's something very simple, but this is more of an issue that's a gripe and not really anything to do with how awful this video is, but it is awful.
He straight up beats and rapes her to completion. I can't make that shit up if I tried. And I wish, my boys, I could say that this is the worst chapter, but it's really not.
So, Joey, I know that you say that you're a connoisseur of the doujinshi and the hentai that exist around the internet, but if this is bothering you already and there's another part that's worse than this, then I don't think that you've been around on the internet that often, or that long. I mean, come on. This is something very simple. This is very bare bones. I don't see the issue to bring this up. Now, it's getting an anime adaptation. I can see your concern, but no one's arguing the quality of this show. They think that it could be fucking terrible. No one's saying that this is a good program or that this is a good manga or a light novel. It's just getting adapted. There's plenty of things that got adapted that people don't like. Berserk 2016. But regardless, I think that we should just enjoy it for what it is, which is, the piece of garbage that it is. I mean, we all halfway enjoyed Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online is not so great. SAO is a thing that exists, but the Gun Gale Online, though, primo. Now I'm just getting off on a tangent, but continue. What is the worst part of this?
No, that award, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Chapter 14. Give a round of applause.
Just another nitpick. He's going to be using a lot of the stock videos like that throughout the rest of this because apparently that's the premier way of being funny. Yep, that's where we are now.
In which our main protagonist captures the head of the royal guard who almost kills him in a previous chapter, but is responsible for murdering the village that our main protagonist grew up in. And again, I'm gonna have to rely on my boy Thomas for these art skills, but here's what happens in chapter 14. After transforming the guard into a girl with his quote-unquote healing alchemy, he drugs the other guards with an aphrodisiac-filled substance he created and turns them into mindless, horny zombies.
Okay, so Adojin has done this, and I know I brought this up in like a previous video, but Valkyrie Drive kind of did the same thing. I mean, this isn't new. At least this part isn't. Like, maybe the parts after this might be something, but these have existed in plenty of shows before this. I don't see the issue.
Upon seeing the head guard, who is now a tied-up, naked girl on the ground, a group of 10 to 20 guards gang rape her as our main protagonist sets the building on fire and walks out. Listen, guys, I wish I had the talent to make that shit up. Actually, no, scratch that. I wish I had the edge to make that shit up. But unfortunately, I am a sane human being.
Okay, all right. This video's gone on for a long time already, Joey. But you see, he's not sane. He has endured 4 years of torture. So everything that he's creating isn't because he's sane. It's because he's lost his mind 4 years ago. And then he's getting revenge on people for doing awful things to him. Who's to say that they could have done these things? They could have done them. The way that they've set up the story, they could have done those things. See, like I said, we're not arguing the quality of this show. We're arguing the events because apparently you don't know what they are. And I've read through a little bit of this myself, and we got something else going on here, a little something. But you don't know what's happening in this because apparently your reading comprehension is just went out the window. Or maybe it's because you're being ignorant because you just want to be ignorant.
And again, may I be so inclined to remind you, this show is getting a fucking anime adaptation next year, like... Oh, and to answer your question, yes, I did in fact buy and read the original light novel series because I ain't no pussy bitch who's going to pirate his light novels. And yes, to answer your other question, it is much edgier and much more raunchy than the manga adaptation.
Alright, so let's just assume that I was on your side this entire time that we were watching this video, which obviously is not true. I don't agree with almost hardly anything that you say. But you're now taking the moral grandstand of, oh, well, I ain't no pussy bitch. I don't pirate my light novels. So what does that add to the argument? Exactly. Maybe I'm out of the loop here. So because you didn't pirate it, your opinion is now more valid? Is that what we're getting at? Maybe I'm the stupid one here. Maybe it's because, oh, well, you read the official version of it? I mean, the official version could also exist on the internet through piracy. Now, I'm not going to really turn this video into a piracy video because there's a million of them out there, but piracy isn't inherently bad. And let me explain. So when something comes out in a digital format exclusively, piracy is a part of a way of preserving that. So if you have a game like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World that was on the Xbox Live Arcade via Ubisoft, you can't get that anymore. People that have that saved or have pirated it, it's saved on the internet forever. There are certain soundtracks that are getting removed by big corporations, can't say their name, I don't want to get DMCA'd, but they're removing soundtracks to their original movies from streaming services. And so you can't get them there. You have to buy them directly from them and they upcharge you. Whereas piracy preserves those. And some songs have gotten deleted, some have gotten changed around because of copyright laws. And so piracy is a way of preserving those. Even when it comes to manga, or even in the case of the KyoAni fire that you seem to be so up in arms about because, you know, it was a tragic event. Piracy helps save some of those works too. And, you know, albeit some of them were saved in the cloud somewhere, and they had some backups reserved for just such a case. But piracy can help in those cases. I'm not seeing why You always want to do this moral grandstand. You and every anti-tuber say piracy is bad. Maybe it's for the corporation that you want to look good, but for the average person that may not have the means to get them legally, or has to jump through 1,000,001 hoops. They don't want to have to try to ask their congressperson to say, hey, can this company license these shows? That's not really effective because they don't know what this is. They don't know what the fuck anime is. They're just here. So stop using this as a point. That's the weakest point that adds absolutely nothing to any argument. I know this was a long rant, but this part actually made me legitimately angry. And I don't like the fact that, well, piracy bad actually. Well, in certain cases, yes, but more game developers would rather you pirate their game than to buy it with a DRM or something that they didn't agree to. That's usually what it comes down to. That's a weak point. Fuck you, Joey.
So suffice it to say that all of this edge and shock value is not a result of a bad manga adaptation. It essentially falls into the same trap as Goblin Slayer did back in the day.
What was the trap from Goblin Slayer exactly?
In which people were freaking out about that one particular moment in the first episode for being way too obscene for TV, which made the manga readers laugh because that same scene in the manga was even more obscene, which in turn made the light novel readers laugh because that one scene in the light novel is even more obscene. It's like an obscene Ouroboros.
So now who's to say that can't happen in this case, Joey? Who's to say that, oh, well, we adapted it from the manga and not the light novel? Because the light novel's a little bit on the edgy side. Wink, wink. But the manga is, really cool. We're gonna adapt it from that. And then they tone it down even more. Who's to say that can't happen, Joey? You just sat here and explained how it happened with Goblin Slayer. So why can't it happen here? Oh, that's right, because you said so. I always forget that I'm talking to an absolute fucking child.
And the one silver lining or thing I'm looking forward to about a show like Redo of a Healer getting an anime adaptation is that I get to experience what I think is going to be one of the biggest shitstorms to ever hit the coast of the online anime community, especially when they decide to adapt chapters like Chapter 6 and Chapter 14.
No. You're not waiting for the shitstorm. You don't want to be a part of the shitstorm because you saw what happened when people ass-blasted Mother's Basement for it. You saw what happened when the anime community on the West Coast, they decided that they were gonna talk about this. You saw how fucking hurt people were because the bad scene in Goblin Slayer. There were so many videos. My video was about that, but mine was more of an approach that, yeah, the scene exists to give you context, and then you fucking people cry like children whenever you don't get your way or you think it's too gross.
Because I'm warning you right now, my boys, take this video as a warning for next year, that if they decide to completely keep all of the scenes in things like Chapter 14 and Chapter 6, then it genuinely is going to be a World War III on the online anime community between the SJWs and everybody else who can take a little bit of dark fantasy.
Okay, so we have rant number 2 here. I don't know why we have to go on so many rants, but using the term SJW in current year, I'm going to use the current year argument, is actually just really cringe. Now, I used to say it in my videos. You can go back and you can see me saying SJW, but it's kind of one of those words that loses all meaning, like when people call people that they don't like Nazis. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So I don't believe that the SJWs are going to be angry at this. I just think that people that get their feelings hurt pretty often are going to not enjoy Redo of a Healer. I think that people that want more from Redo of a Healer are just not going to like it anyways. They can say, no, this story has bad pacing, and you've already said that. Look, we can agree, one chapter, not great pacing. We gotta we gotta extend that out. We gotta flesh it, just do it. But to say the SJWs are going to be mad, I don't think so. I think that people that have a critical eye will be mad at this. I think that people that want to experience something more will be mad at this. If they think that this is what you say edgy, then sure, people will be mad at this regardless. People can say, this is just a little unnecessary, and then they get over it. But then you're going to take that as, oh, well, these people are seething. Look at these SJWs. And that's not how it is at all. Just fucking don't. Just don't. There's not going to be a World War III. People are going to be mad about this the same way they were mad about Shield Hero. They're going to be mad about the Goblin Slayer thing again. So just, can you not?
Like, I shit you not, this shitstorm that is going to be started is going to make that one scene in Goblin Slayer look like a fucking fairy tale episode.
But why does it have to? You know, as I've become a content creator and I've been here and around the internet for a good while, I've started to realize that maybe I am a part of the problem, where I want to see these, so to speak, blood sports happen. But now I just want to look at big anime titties and play video games and work, and then go to Anime Expo and enjoy the people that are around me. Being angry in these videos is one thing, but in real life I like to not be so angry. I would like to enjoy my time on the internet by talking to people and playing video games, looking at big anime titties, streaming my bad gameplay, and playing Cuphead, because I'm pretty decent at Cuphead. I still got some things to work on, but I can't spend my time seething about something that I don't care about. Like, you don't care about this, so why are you putting this much energy into seeing a World War III from the Western anime community? What the fuck does that even have to do with anything? Why do you have to do this? Why must you do this?
Because we're not just talking about a goblin rape scene here. We're talking about human-on-human violence and rape scenes, and multiple scenes of that.
But Joey, there's anime out there that already exist that have multiple rape scenes in them. I would argue that if you wanted to go with, you know, something that is pure edge, then, I mean, Elfen Lied had a scene where one of the girls, who's clearly underage in the story, I mean, they're not real, but the girl that's in the story is underage, and she gets molested by her father. They don't show him, like, penetrating her, obviously, because that would be... then they really couldn't show it. Then they would really be sunk in the water. But in that scene, it's not just implied, that's what happens. And then one day she gets fed up with it and she runs away, which is why she's homeless. So, I mean, that's just one example. I don't know all of them off the top of my head right this second, but you will bring up Berserk, and I can't wait until you do.
So kids, grab your emergency Pocky, grab your emergency Ramune, and prepare the social media evacuation for what is going to be the biggest shitstorm of 2020 that the online anime community has ever seen.
Yeah, grab your weeb snacks, you fucking otaku nerds. You better grab it and get it in your backpacky wacky, because we're gonna talk about this and not coronavirus, because this video was made before coronavirus was a thing, so, you know, I guess we gotta pick our battles.
But let's hit the brakes a little bit, because in all seriousness, after finishing about 20 chapters of this manga, because I somehow managed to conjure up enough mental energy to make it through 20 chapters of this shit, I genuinely question myself as to why I don't like this particular series, this particular dark fantasy series. Because as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, dark fantasy is one of my favorite genres of the medium. So what is it that differentiates between Redo of a Healer and say something like Berserk?
The differences have already been told, but I'm sure you're going to tell us some stuff even more in depth. And this is the part of the video I was waiting for you guys to get to.
Because if you think about it, both have gory scenes, both are based on revenge of some kind, both have an overpowered main protagonist, and both have multiple rape and obscenely sexualized scenes. And obviously ignoring the point about there being a difference in the art style, because there really is no comparison between the godlike art style of Mira Kentaro versus the quite generic and mediocre art style of the Redo of the Healer manga.
But you just said that they make very cultured anime and hentai pictures. So is it not cultured anymore, or does cultured not mean that it looks good? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing a brain cell, because now it's mediocre. And sure, there's two different styles for this because they're two different stories, Joey. I didn't realize everything had to have this entire fucking castle finely detailed and then be delayed for 6 years.
I think the biggest difference that separates these two shows in particular is how much emotion is put behind the act of revenge. You see, in Berserk, we were given not just an entire chapter, not just an entire volume, but an entire arc, 9 whole volumes of the manga to explore Guts' past and the reasons for why he is out to get his revenge. In the Golden Age arc, you not only get a fantastic exploration into the state of the world at large, but also a deep look into Guts as a character, and a fully fleshed out view of how and why his character changed over time.
Yes, no one is disagreeing with you. The pacing in Redo of a Healer is fucking god-awful, but that's not what people are really arguing about, right? I mean, this whole thing is because it's getting an anime adaptation and you don't know why. And then you're getting details of the story that you apparently read through incorrect. I think that's probably what the biggest issue is here. I think those are the things that people are looking at this video with a critical eye for.
Meanwhile, in Redo of a Healer, we get all of that in one chapter. And that's the first one. Of course, we get glimpses back to his previous life as the story goes on, but it's just that. It's only short glimpses. We're given this overarching, I am mad and I'm out for revenge for XYZ reasons, but that doesn't give the reader enough time or information to get fully invested in this character.
But Joey, you read through the synopsis of the first chapter just earlier. So you're saying that you don't understand what you just read, but you told us about what it was about? How does this make sense to you in any way?
At the end of it, it doesn't make the act of revenge seem justified, and thus only adds to the edginess factor of all the terrible and obscene things the protagonist ends up doing to these characters that we also know very little about.
Yeah, if you're reading it from the manga or the light novel, I mean, maybe, but it really depends on where you're getting your information from. But maybe they'll clear it up in the anime. I mean, why are we still upset about this being an anime again? I'm not quite sure we figured that reason out yet. So yeah, the show itself, this manga as it's presented itself, or even the light novel, they're probably just not that great. I mean, it's just pretty normie, generic tier, no one cares, but it exists for a reason. Someone made this, and you have to consume product. But, you know, that's not my words, that's someone else. But, so even then, what's the problem with this getting an anime adaptation? Sure, it's going to be a terrible anime, but, you know, we need this in the motion.
Wait, hold on. Why am I even comparing Berserk to Redo of a Healer? That's like comparing reaction channels to good content.
But wait, you actually make reaction videos. You've reacted to stuff before, so does that then make your... You know what? You're fucking retarded. Let's just get on with this video.
I feel the only reason why series like Redo of a Healer is managing to grab itself an anime adaptation despite all of its very non-TV friendly scenes and settings is purely due to the fact that it has a particular concept that is a huge trend right now in the anime industry.
What's that? Trends are a thing that companies look at? Yeah, I would agree. That's why things get made, Joey.
I mean, just think about it. RPG-like setting, swords, demons, magic, ecchi, overpowered protagonist, edgy for the sake of being edgy. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it?
So, I've only seen about 2 of those because the other ones don't really catch my interest, but Gate isn't about a character that is overpowered. It is in an RPG kind of setting, I guess, or, you know, like an isekai, if you will. I don't think ecchi's really a thing that exists in Gate. Like, there's some scenes, but they're not, you know, by the numbers. So I don't know where that comparison comes in at. And then Rising of a Shield Hero, he doesn't come out, you know, overpowered. He has to level up his abilities. That's how he survives. He does backhanded deals and acquires slaves. So that way he can, you know, get by because of the people that treated him wrongly. And then he takes his revenge in a much different way. But that's kind of the thing. I don't know if you've ever, you know, considered yourself a connoisseur of the things that you're talking about, but it seems like you don't know jack shit. The Rising of the Shield Hero is something that came out that no one, some people said that it wouldn't be brought up again. Let me rephrase. And here we are talking about it again. Do you understand that not everything is as cookie cutter as you want it to be? And that you're trying to make this out to be some weird strawman argument. Now, the other one about the smartphone, I think that's fucking stupid. I'm just not going to watch it. The other one is 100% ecchi. And then the Ragnarok one is... that's just generic shit. That's just generic. I'm not watching it. See? You see how easy that is?
I mean, at this point, I'm convinced that the people up at the top of the anime industry boardroom aren't even looking into series when they decide to adapt it into an anime. They probably just have like a checklist of like, yeah, this seems like everything that we've made in the past couple of years. Yeah, the weebs will eat this shit up like candy.
No, I think that's not how that happened, but I think there's someone that can tell you that would probably disagree with you of how things get made.
I've said this many times, but it's the exact reason why there are so many anime series that have been created year in and year out. It's because the demand for the supply is getting greater and greater every year. As there are more people who are reading manga and watching anime on a daily basis and making it part of their lives, the more that the industry needs to produce all sorts of different products for all sorts of different consumers.
I don't know who might have said that. Maybe it was just some random guy on the internet. You know, I do talk to a bunch of people every day, so maybe it's just one of those guys, but let's continue.
Because in all honesty, how else would a show like Redo of a Healer get an anime adaptation? How else would a manga like Ishizoku Reviewers, a series that is set in an RPG like Isekai world where heroes go around and review different prostitution centers that have different species of the fantasy world? How would a show like that get an anime adaptation?
You know, I'm not going to stand here and try to give you the same kind of speech, but you can just see the video just, I don't know, like 30 seconds ago. That'll help you understand it a little bit better.
The fact of the matter is that we're forever stuck in this isekai-esque RPG-like power fantasy setting, and these schmucks over in the anime industry don't fucking realize we want out. We're done with these isekais, bro, just like we were done with all these fucking vampire-themed shows back in the early to mid-2000s. We want something new. We want change. Enough is enough. We need something new and refreshing now, please.
Some of your constituents, there's just a small number, but they would disagree with you. Go through and look at the My Anime list in every season, because any casual sweep, it'll tell you otherwise. And, you know, most people who cry about original stories don't even read the manga for the adaptations they find issue with. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just words from the wise, I suppose.
So, yeah, overall, do I recommend Redo of a Healer? No.
Oh, wowee, I'm so shocked. You said no. I mean, this whole video exists for a reason, I suppose.
Only if you're like a serious masochist like me and you like reading shit shows of series. Don't even bother wasting your time with this. There are so many other fantastic dark fantasy series. Go and read Berserk or Claymore. Just that alone will show you how fucking amazing dark fantasy can be. And look, even after I've said all this, I'm probably still gonna check out the anime adaptation for it because I'm genuinely just excited for how big of a shitstorm this is going to stir up on the online anime community. It was hilarious when it happened with Goblin Slayer, and why would I miss out on some more fun?
Because you get paid to watch anime, and then you get paid by the anime companies, the ones that you say are full of schmucks. That's why. This isn't really a mystery. I don't know why we have to bring this up in almost every video. AnyTubers get paid, primarily from YouTube, but they also, when they strike deals with, you know, the anime industry, then, yeah, they get paid from that. I'm pretty sure Bookwalker would like to have a talk with you.
Look, the fact that I went out and bought the fucking light novel of this shit series just goes to show you that I ain't a pussy bitch, alright? I'm fully committed to the shit shows at this point.
Another moral grandstand. It's like this video in just the past minute has deteriorated into, look how much I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy it, but also here's my input because I have the most valid input.
But yeah, whatever happens next with this show, I think we can all agree that our general reaction to all of it is gonna be, what the fuck, Japan?
No, it won't. I think people will probably still enjoy it, and the people that won't, they just won't enjoy it. It's very simple. Stop making everyone out to be some, I don't know, autistic spurg who can't handle the fact that a show is bad. Oh my god, he raped all of these people and burned down the house that they had all these people in. Like, no one's gonna care. They're just gonna be like, yeah, that's kind of stupid and fucking obnoxious, and then they move on to the next thing, okay? If you're the Anime Man fan, and you've made it this far, let me go ahead and just tell you that this isn't a video that is hating on the Anime Man. I don't hate the Anime Man. Hate's a pretty strong word. But I do dislike him for a lot of different reasons. The fact of him being one of the main people behind the Flying Colors Foundation, and of course using that information to, you know, never bring it up again. He just has no idea where it's at. He doesn't know any of these people involved anymore, apparently. And then out of nowhere we have Bookwalker. That's a whole different story. But there's things about him that I just do not like. That and his evasiveness. Whenever you try to find out more information about Joey as a person, he will immediately just start saying it's none of your business. It doesn't matter. And sure, that's fair. There's things that people want to know about me personally, but I don't put my entire life out there. I'm not a 2.2 million subscriber YouTuber. I don't care. If people want to know something, I'm usually pretty easy to find on Twitter or on Discord. But he goes out of his way to be very evasive. And again, this video isn't about me hating him. This is about correcting the misunderstandings. Does he really know about dark fantasy? Or maybe he doesn't? I don't know. But why does the video exist in the first place, I guess? I don't know. Why is it that long? Why is this video this long? But regardless, there is something else that I want to address that is not directly related to the Anime Man at all. So I do get this pretty often. It's, oh yeah, I'm quitting YouTube, and oh well, I'm back making YouTube videos. Well, there is a reason for that, and that's because usually I just get very demotivated, or I just want to do other things. Right now I'm working on a whole other project that some of you may know about, but there's just things I really want to do besides make YouTube videos, or there's just not a lot to talk about. But fortunately for you, I am going to still be making YouTube videos, just not in the same capacity that I used to. And I hate to keep leaving and coming back, but I think this is probably more of a solid answer that anybody probably asked for. And that is the fact that I really want to make videos again, and I want to keep making them. So I just may make them maybe, so often, once a month or so. I'll be your guys' period. So that way you can enjoy the Necro videos or hate them. I mean, it depends on who you are. But I do want to make more videos. And that'll be my official statement on that. I'm not leaving forever, but at some point I will have to, figure it out. I'll have to move on from being a content creator and just being a person again. Because sometimes the internet is a scary place, full of interesting people. And speaking of interesting people, I want to say a big thank you to the Patreon supporters that you can see listed here on the left, and to Edgy, who helped me with this video. He's someone that's very prominent in the Discord server, so if you can find the link, I think it might be updated somewhere, then feel free to join. And also, he's my sugar daddy in Animal Crossing. If you gotta get on the good side of him. But other than that, I think I'll leave you guys to it. This has been almost an hour, and an hour too long for this video to even exist. So have fun.